Kailey, let's try this one more time. What do we know? What's happening?
Well, we know that approval actually has happened this time around. This is approval of 2 necessary filings that were necessary for these products to actually do what they intended to do. One being the 19B4 filings, that is the exchanges that will list these products. The others, the S1s. Many revisions that we've seen in recent days were to those S1 filings that also had to be approved by the SEC. So that is what we know at this point. Of course, this was a highly anticipated decision. Despite the events of yesterday, the confusion around whether or not approval had happened at that point, it turned out it did not, but it is indeed happening now. These spot Bitcoin products for the first time in ETF form being approved here in the U.S. All 11 of them remain.
I'm going to just jump in here and bring in Sonali Basak, who is, of course, covering crypto as well. Sonali, what have you been hearing from the folks you've been talking to?
Yeah, it's interesting because we've had the initial approvals and we have some big issuers already coming out with statements. For example, Grayscale, one of the biggest ones, had said that they're happy to confirm that the Grayscale team has received the necessary regulatory approvals to list GBTC to the NYSE ARCA and will share a press release shortly. We expect these firms to start trading their ETFs tomorrow. So tomorrow will be a large day for these issuers.
All right, we are getting that confirmation crossing the terminal. The Grayscale Bitcoin Trust has been approved. Here are a few others that have also been approved. The Bitwise Bitcoin ETF has been approved. The hashtag Bitcoin ETF has also been approved. Proposals from iShares Bitcoin Trust has also been approved. And the Valkyrie Bitcoin Fund has also been approved. We can keep going through these. They're going to keep trickling in here. Van Eck, Invesco. So we're starting to get the confirmation here of all the individual ones, Sonali, about the ones that are approved. Not much of a surprise, right? I mean, we expected this to happen, and the names that we're seeing here right now are the ones that are going to be first out the gate.
All 11. And so remember, the first mover advantage is very important when it comes to the ETF world. When this happened in futures, you saw many assets flow to the first one out the gate. Now, tomorrow, what's going to be interesting is that war on fees. And remember, the reason we talk about GBTC is they have that $30 billion fund. What happens to those assets? Do they stay stable? Do they go down? Do they move up? The choices people make from here in terms of where to go for their Bitcoin exposure will be fascinating. But certainly, let's just take a moment here. What a historic moment for the Bitcoin industry to have this approval after so many years. It was a tough 24 hours. You and I have been sitting here, and even when we first watched the first set of filings go up, there were a lot of questions about how the SEC was going to do this. A lot of people couldn't access the filings right after it initially was posted. It was posted and then came down. Certainly confusing 24 hours and even last half an hour, but we're here.
We're here and we have the headlines. They're crossing the Bloomberg terminal. Kailey, Leinz, this looks like, a lot more organized this time around with all the individual headlines on the different ETFs that were filed with the SEC. What do we know about how else the SEC is going to communicate with investors about this?
Well, they very clearly have everything laid out in this filing, Romaine, and Scarlett, that is available on the SEC website right now. I wouldn't be surprised to see further statement out from the SEC in the form of potentially a press release or something from the chair, Gary Gensler himself, just given how sensitive the communication around this now is, especially so because of the events of yesterday, making it very clear what information can be trusted and what cannot be. Also knowing that this is going to raise a lot of questions that regulators may now be having to answer. The idea that now that they have approved this spot product in particular, now both Bitcoin futures and Bitcoin spot ETFs will be trading. Does that mean that we could see the same for other tokens out there? Could we be seeing a spot Ether ETF, a spot XRP ETF, those kinds of questions?